opportunity to race against him one of these days.
Yeah, that'll be something else to race against your cousin Bobby.
Yep. One thing about it, you beat him, you've beaten the best. And Dan Horan and Jeff Rand and so many of those other guys. I mean, Gary Dencham and I go way back. I pulled Gary Dencham out of his funny car when the bell housing bolt sheared off and the transmission spun and broke his foot here at Sacramento. And then, like I said, I just had a conversation on the phone with John Force about 2 months ago for about 30 minutes, and I hadn't talked to him in years. And, those guys are people that have been my friends for a long time, and they're still doing it. And they're getting up there in age. And, I told somebody, I'm getting too old. They said, nah, you're not too old. And so I'm 53 years old and getting ready to get into my first blown car, and we own it too, so we're pretty excited.
Yeah, then you got other guys like Jason Rupert's in there.
Well, Rupert, they're building a big show car, so I think their plan was to debut this year, but with the COVID thing, I think they decided to hold off. But, all the people in the funny car category are just great. Eddie Knox and Rupert and Brad Littlefield just shipped me my setback blower plate today. He shipped it yesterday, and I got it today, so he didn't let me grass grow, that's for sure. So that was the last big piece we were waiting for as far as getting the motor mocked up and ready to start plumbing fuel lines and everything. But, to walk through the pits and realize all these guys are guys that I raced with back then. Weaver used to drive the Dreamweaver alcohol funny car. Didn't even think he was around anymore. And then all of a sudden, his wife, Tracy Weaver, comes up to me and starts talking to me and said, you don't know who I am, do you? I'm Jim Weaver's wife. And I said, Dreamweaver, Jim Weaver? And she said, yeah. I said, I didn't even think he was still around. And those are people I've been friends with since I was a kid, and I didn't even recognize him anymore. But he's talking about going nitro funny car racing. There's a lot of new teams coming into the sport, and I can see where there would be the possibility of all the races for Nostalgia Nitro being 16-car fields, and that would just be awesome.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't need... we enjoy going to a qualifying show on Friday night for a national vid every once in a while, but I'm perfectly fine with just going to the heritage races because there's no set winner. It's not who's got the most money that wins. These guys can step up and run low anytime. And I mean, Dan Horan can do it. Bobby and Bucky up at Idaho a couple weeks ago, they weren't even qualified going into the third round. But once they qualified and they started tweaking that new combination, it was on. And they had to work to win that race, but they won it. And Bobby worked hard for it, and behind the wheel as well as in the pits. And I wish we could have been there for that because that would have been one memorable race. But there's no use in trying to travel with them when it's restricted on fan access and everything. So
right.
But like I said, after the election, that's going to go away, and we'll get back to normal racing. Well, what's normal racing for us anyway?
Yeah.
I don't know about NHRA. They seem to be having a lot of problems, but I'm hoping they'll figure it out.
Yep. So now, Daniel, what was it like for you the first time ever in your life going down a drag strip?
Well, the first time ever going down a drag strip, I actually spun the tires all the way through first gear and kind of made a fool in front of myself, and my dad was the starter on the starting line that night. So when I got back up to the starting line, I got a real earful from him. What were you thinking? Why didn't you lift? What, you just think smoking them tires? What, you think tires are free and all that stuff? So after that, I started thinking, and I started using what I'd learned from my dad, and I lost my very first race, but after that, I won 16 in a row.
Wow.
And that started, I've got 125 wins total. But I lost my very first race, then I won 16 in a row. And then I would go on win streaks. And I won some ET championships and stuff, and had a lot of fun doing it. And at one time, I had so many trophies. My mom told me, pick the ones that mean something to you, and the rest of them were thrown away. I said, well, every one of them means something to me. They're dust collectors. Well, they're dust collectors to you, but I ended up giving most of the trophies away to kids, and I think Bonnie Filson still has a couple that meant a lot to me. But I had a house fire years ago, and all my pictures of me and my dragster, and all the pictures I had of me racing younger as a kid and everything got destroyed in it, along with my fire suit and my first helmet and everything. So this fire suit replaces that one. So that was another part of the reason why I stopped driving, because I didn't have the money to replace the fire suit and helmet and shoes and gloves and everything I'd lost in the fire.
So now your fire safety equipment, you get all that from Big Ben?
Yep, it's all here. Yep, Ben took real good care of us and did an awesome job, and we can't wait to wear stuff proudly and show it off to the world. And of course, we're gonna show them off predominantly on the car, because we're not gonna paint it. It's just gonna be the body's red, and then the front end and the doors are primered, and it's gonna have two big giant DJ safety stickers on it, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do with it later, but we don't have any plans of actually painting the car. We're just going to run it like it is until such time as we sell it to buy a funny car to go Sifka racing.
All right, now when you're out on the track, Daniel, do you have any pre-race rituals or superstitions?
I never did. Right before I get in the car, I walk around the back of the car and I check the spare chute, and I usually kick both the tires to make sure they both thump the same and sound the same, and then I just get in. But once I get in the car, I don't want anybody to talk to me. I always had one person that once I was belted in the car, they protected me from anybody coming and talking to me once I was belted in the car. But I get so relaxed sitting in the car waiting to run that I'll fall asleep. And one time I ran Art Galindo's dragster right underneath the back of his truck because he didn't know I was asleep, and we started towing up to run. And I don't know what woke me up, but he stopped the truck and got out of the truck, and the car was still rolling and getting ready to roll under the back of the truck.
Oh, no.
He started screaming at me or something. But where some people get all wound up and everything, I get relaxed. The closer I get to run time, I just get completely relaxed, and to the point I can fall asleep, and that's my time. My dad taught me that. I said, "Why do you get in the car so long before you run?" He said, "Because once you get in the car, you get ready." He said, "If you get out of the car for some reason," he said, "now you have to do everything all over again." He said, "So once I get in the car, I don't get out," and I've always done that, and it works. It's worked good for me. I mean, by the time I get out of the car, I may be soaking wet because of the heat and me sweating inside a fire suit. But as much fun as this all is, I'm there to win, and I want to win. So I do everything I can to set myself up for success, even from the time I start getting on my fire suit and getting ready to get in the car till from burnout to turnout. So and don't think I haven't been thinking about what my ritual is going to be, and I've been trying to figure it out, but until I get in the car and figure out, one, if I'm comfortable in the car and what it's going to be like. I don't know how long from the time we fire it up till the time I shut off the motor at the finish line, how much time's going to elapse. So it's kind of hard to figure out rituals till you go through that. So I figure about 6 passes in, we'll start figuring that out. And once we figure it out, that's what we'll do every time. And if you do the same thing every time, it gives you that much more chance of being a winner, because you're doing the same thing every time. Because deviating from a plan can make things make the car run different. Whether it's shorter or longer, you want it to run the same amount of time. You want the same amount of heat in the motor every pass. You want to make sure you do your burnouts the same every time. And my wife has told me that the fans in the stand better be cheering after my burnout, or she's going to be kicking my butt. So, I've got that to deal with too. Nothing like having a little pressure.
Yeah. So what do you prefer, quarter mile or eighth mile?
Well, I actually prefer quarter mile. Eighth mile, I tried it back in the 90s, and I only won 1/8 mile race, and I ran probably 30 of them. But eighth mile racing, I just never could figure it out. I never could win at it. But the quarter mile racing, I always won it. And but I'm prepared to do eighth mile racing now because one, eighth mile racing is a lot easier on equipment. And like I was telling you, I got a lot of street outlaw guys here in Northern California that have shown interest in wanting to buy my car because it's street outlaw legal. So we're going to be making some eighth mile passes to set a price on it because I'm not going to give it away by any means. And this is a good car for that. So we're hoping we can go out and lay down from a 420 to a 430 pass, and then we can put a number on the car and it'll sell for that, and that'll give us plenty of money to buy the funny car with. But I love watching the eighth mile on TV, and eventually I plan on having some kind of an ET car so I can go out and run Tremp and Adams bracket racing we got going out here in Sacramento. They're out there running tonight. They got the $10,000 to win bracket race going on out there, and it's eighth mile. So I hope to be able to run with them pretty soon.
So now, Daniel, besides you and your wife, being crew for the new car, are there going to be any other crew members?
Well, yeah, my Uncle Mike will be our crew chief, and then there's Danny Dixon. Danny Dixon him and his dad, Ron Dixon, was a really good friend of my dad's, and Ron helped us build the cars and maintenance the car and went racing with us, and Danny raced with us, and I told him one day we're going to do this together. So when I decided to buy the car, I called up Danny and I said, "Remember that?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I'm buying a car." So Danny's been around. He went and helped me pick up the car, and he's been over here and worked on it quite a few times. And he'll be over working on it again when we get ready mocked up. And then Chris Barfield, a guy here in Sacramento that he's one of my fishing friends. He's going to go racing with us. He's a single dad with a daughter, and him and his daughter are going to come racing with us. And between that core group of people, we'll have our regular race team. And that way, if somebody can't make it, we'll always have somebody that can step in for somebody else. But there'll be about 5 or 7 of us all the time. And then, of course, like my aunt will be here with my uncle, and then I got cousins, and when we used to go pro gas racing, when my dad was running pro gas, we had probably about a 50 or 60 team crew out there because we had all people that came out because we were racing, and you'd have a bunch of lawn chairs just circling the pit, and it was a really good time. And we're hoping that it'll be something like that again. Everybody that wants to come out and share our fun with us is welcome to come. And so we'll 5 to 7 people will always be racing with us, but there's always going to be a big group. So if we got to put all of our people there in one section, you'll be able to hear them over everybody else.
So now, what are some of your favorite tracks to race on, Daniel?
Well, of course, I love Sacramento because that's the track that I grew up at and I worked at for years and everything. But I used to win at Reading a lot, and I loved going there. And then I've never lost at Medford, Oregon, and I'm looking forward to going there. And then I'm hoping that we get to go and race down at Bakersfield a couple times because I've won there, and it was always a lot of fun winning there. And I've only won once at Sears Point, but they closed Baylands Raceway Park in Fremont, and I used to win there a lot. I wish we would have the opportunity to go there again, but it's no longer there. But Sacramento mainly. A lot of people hate racing at home, and I don't. I love racing at home. I love racing in front of friends and family and people that I grew up around and everything. And my dad was a legend here in Pro Gas, and I'm hoping that we'll get some kind of that kind of following to the point that maybe we'll even have to print up some T-shirts.
Now, throughout your drag racing history, have you had any accidents or close calls?
I had one close call. I've never had an actual wreck, but I was testing a guy's car named John Geisness years ago, and he had hooked nitrous up to it. And we tested at Sears Point, and we ran 692 and 694. And then we came up here to Sacramento and tested, and there were fuses in the wiring for the solenoids for the gas and the nitrous, and the gas solenoid fuse blew, and so it went solid, just total nitrous, and it kicked 4 rods out of it, and there was fire, and the car ended up in the air and sideways, and I pulled the parachute, and the chute didn't open right away, and just about the point I thought I was going on my head and going to start rolling, the parachute opened and straightened the car up, and I got the thing stopped, and I got out of it, and I kissed the ground because I knew I was getting ready to have a bad one. But that was as bad as that one was. Destroyed the motor, but walked away from it. And, but I've never had a wreck, and never really came close to having a wreck. I guess it could happen, but it's not something I worry about.
Yeah, knock on wood, you won't have any accidents.
Yeah. Well, one thing about it, that gas pedal works both directions. And, if I get in over my head, I just got to shut the car off. And hopefully I've got sense of mind to do that. If I get in a situation where I'm in over my head, just shut it off and live to race another day.
Yep. So now, let me ask you something. Besides drag racing and fishing, you have any other hobbies at all?
No, not really. We just with my wife having MS, it's hard for us to go do a lot of things. We could go to do them, but with her being in a wheelchair on a scooter, taking her to do things and her having to watch other people have such a good time and her not be able to do what they're doing, it can kind of irritate her. So we don't do much, but we got a pair of dogs that are called Lhasa that are spoiled more than any children have ever been spoiled, and they are the center of our world pretty much. I don't see my grandkids that much. They live out of town. I mean, when they're here, we spoil them to death, but our dogs are quite the comedy team, so that's pretty much our excitement away from the racing and the fishing. We're pretty boring people.
Yeah, the dogs become family, and then those are your kids.
What's that?
I said the dogs become part of the family after the years, and you consider them your kids.
Oh, yeah, they are, and they roll the roost, let me tell you. They sleep with us every night, and if we're not in the position they want us to, we get woke up to them kicking us, trying to move us. And I look at them and I'm like, who do you think you are? I'm the king of this castle, not you. Well, they just look at me like, who are you talking to, fool? But we take them racing too, and they go fishing with us every time we go out. But like I said, we're actually pretty boring people. I mean, a lot of people think that our fishing is boring, but we have a wonderful time, and the time flies by. You always wished it, especially on a good fishing trip, it could have lasted longer. But we have a blast doing it, and then as long as Jennifer stays awake on the way home and keeps me from falling asleep, we're in good shape.
Yeah, it's not boring pulling in a big sturgeon.
Yeah, we do that quite a bit. That last trip, boy, though, that was one we'll never forget, man. And
So
What's that?
how long did it take to get that sturgeon in towards the boat?
Well, we've had fights that lasted over an hour. We caught one back at the beginning of the year that we figured was about 140 pounds. That one was about an hour and 20 minutes. And when we finally landed them, because I pulled that one onto the boat, and I looked around and I said, "Man, it sure doesn't seem like we were moving." Well, we had drifted into such shallow water that the boat was stuck in the mud. But we've had them. We've had a lot of them that go for up to an hour, and I mean, my wife can't help me land a fish, and she doesn't. She can't help me fight a fish. Every once in a while, she'll hook one and fight it for a little while, and then I got to take over for her. But they are a battle, and if they don't want to come in, they don't come in. And then some of them, you fight them for 15, 20 minutes, and all of a sudden they just turn on their back and say, "Okay, let me go." And but that last one, that was the hardest. It lasted. That fight was like 30 or 40 minutes, and that was the hardest I've ever had to fight a fish that came in that quick. But I can't. No matter how much I explain it to you, until I throw a pole in your hands with a fish on the other end, you won't understand it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
They are something else, man. And then, when you get to look at one and touch them close up, you realize that they just look so prehistoric. And, these big ones have been alive for over 100 years that we're catching and releasing. They've been around for 100 years.
Yep.
So we treat them as gently as we can, and we get them back in the water as quickly as we can, and let them live to fight another day.
So now, Daniel, if you could do time traveling and go backwards in a time, would you do anything differently with the drag racing career?
I'm going to have to say no, because my life wouldn't be where it's at right now. And where I'm at right now in my life is the happiest and most humble I've ever been. I feel very fortunate to have what I have. I love what I have. And had I done anything differently back then now wouldn't be the same as it is. So I'm going to say no, I wouldn't change anything. I mean, that probably sounds pretty boring to everybody, but it's the truth.
Are you ready for some fun questions here now?
Okay, shoot.
Not that we haven't had any fun questions already, but what's your favorite food to eat?
My favorite food's Chinese, no matter what.
Now, does your wife cook at all?
Nope, I do all the cooking.
So what's your best dish to make?
Gumbo. My number one dish is gumbo, but I make a really good spaghetti too. And if it's really good, and my daughter's here and she calls it Daddy Spaghetti, I know I did a good job.
All right, what's your favorite beverage?
Well, it was Pepsi, but I've had to stop drinking it because I'm diabetic, and I'm not a big fan of diet, but I guess my favorite drink still has to be Pepsi. It will always be Pepsi.
Now, do you drink alcohol?
Well, not anymore. Once we decided to buy the race car, I quit drinking completely. Not that I was a heavy drinker anyway, but when we drink, it's Jack Daniels, and we'd pretty much only drink that when we were fishing out on the boat, and I don't even do that anymore. I figure if we're going to go racing, that I'm going to do everything I can to win, and when I was doing all my winning, I wasn't drinking, so I figure I'll just take some of my lessons from then and use them now.
All right. Now, what's your favorite movie of all time?
Wow. Actually, it's a John Wayne movie. What's that one where the guy rides the horse, flipping the gun and shooting at people on another horse? Man, I can't even remember what it's called, but it's a John Wayne movie. Brewster. Damn, I can't even remember. Why you got to stump me? I love John Wayne, I love old movies. So and when there's a John Wayne weekend where they got a John Wayne marathon, if I'm home, I'm watching it, and if I'm not home, I'm recording it. So, but I love John Wayne movies.
Do you like Clint Eastwood?
Yeah, I like Clint Eastwood, but he's not John Wayne.
Yeah. So now, when you were growing up as a kid, did you have a favorite cartoon to watch when you were a kid?
Bugs Bunny.
Yeah,
I loved Bugs Bunny. I loved how he got over on Elmer Fudd and Yosemite Sam, and I loved Bugs Bunny. That was my favorite cartoon. I enjoyed the Tasmanian Devil and the Roadrunners and all that, but Bugs Bunny made me laugh.
You squee wabbit.
Yeah. You wascally wabbit.
Now on a race day, what your eating habits like? Do you eat light on a race day, or do you eat regularly during a race day?
Well, my problem with on race day used to be me where I'd forget to eat. But I like to eat salads and fruit. I don't like to eat heavy until after we're done racing later into the evening. But that's one thing I'm sure my sister and my wife will keep reminding me that we'll be taking lots of fruit, and we'll have stuff to make salads and tomato sandwiches. That's what my sister and I grew up on out at the racetrack. My Aunt Cloretta used to grow big old beefsteak tomatoes, and she would bring the tomatoes, and we would bring the bread, and we'd make bacon at home and put it in a Ziploc bag and bring it to the racetrack. And when it was time to eat, my Aunt Clara would make everybody tomato sandwiches for lunch. So that'll be part of our menu going forward, because my sister said that's the only way we can do it.
All right. So have you had a most embarrassing moment at the track that you can remember?
Well, yeah. I jumped over the guardrail where the starter on the starting line, a motorcycle got away from a guy. And so I was just going to jump over there and get a hold of it and shut it off, and my feet didn't clear the guardrail, and I landed flat on my face right in front of everybody at the racetrack watching.
Wow.
Yeah, that was pretty embarrassing.
Had been kind of painful too.
Well, it wasn't as painful as it was embarrassing.
Wow. Now, if you didn't become a drag racer, what do you think you would have been, doing for hobbies in your life back then?
I don't know. I've never given it any thought. Like I said, I'm really kind of a boring person, really. I mean, I do the fishing thing, and I wanted to race motocross at one time, and I was about 15 minutes away from doing it, and my mom found out, and once she got out to the racetrack, she made sure that the racetrack owner never was going to allow me to do that, because I tried to do it without telling her. But that was the only other thing that I ever really wanted to do. I mean, I messed around with go-karts to the point where I got to be on the same go-kart track with Jeff Gordon when I was a kid, out there across from Sacramento Raceway. But with drag racing being in my life, I quit playing Little League Baseball, and all I wanted to do was go racing with my dad, with my family. So I never really gave it much thought. I really don't know what I would have possibly done other than what I'm getting ready to do again.
All right, now what's your biggest pet peeve?
Dude, where do I start? Right now, my biggest pet peeve is our liberals. I can't stand the stupidity of a liberal. Yeah. And that's the only thing that, that's my pet peeve, the stupidity of the Democratic Liberal Party right now.
Yeah, I hear you. So what's your favorite? Go ahead.
like I said, man, I've had to stop watching the news because even the conservative news stations, they pay them people to be there for the other side, and some of the stuff they say is so stupid. You know, I want to call them up and ask them, how much did they pay you to say that? You know, it's liberals, pet peeves. You got it, liberals.
Yep. Yeah, they do everything they can to put the president down, man.
Yeah, I know one thing. He's kept every promise he made, and he's done everything that I elected him to do. I voted for him to do, and he's taken every shot, everything they've thrown at him, and thrown it right back at him. And you know, the guy gave up a lifestyle he didn't have to save this country. And for people to think he hasn't saved this country, look at all the jobs he brought back to the United States of America before this COVID thing hit. You know, everything that had been shipped off to China by other presidents before him, he brought back here, and he stopped the automakers from going out of the country and made it to where he pretty much didn't give them a choice. You either do it here, or we'll make it so you can't do it here at all. You know, and he loves his country, and I believe that he loves his country, and I believe that everything he's doing is for the working man. And people can say and think what they want, but that's what I see, and that's what I believe, and that's the decision I make by watching what he's done, not by listening to what people want to tell me he's done. You know, I can't believe that people are so stupid that they'll allow news networks to tell them what they want them to think. You know, I don't get it. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, well, if you love socialism and you love defunding the police and higher taxes, and you want Biden in there.
Even if Biden get in there, he's probably going to have a tragic death. You know, just like all the people that have died behind the Clintons, that Biden will just be another one of them added to it.
Yeah, that's what the Democrats wanted, another puppet, because they can't control Trump.
Yeah, well, hopefully he wins the election, and he continues what he started, or tries to finish what he started, and then that sets us up to where in 4 years we don't have to go through the same thing we've been going through the last two elections anymore. You know, just all that bullshit and all those fake investigations. And it seems to me if you're in Congress and in the Senate, you should be held to a higher standard of law than all of us. And all I've seen is that if you're an elected official, even if you get caught red-handed, you get away with it. And if I could get into politics to change one thing, that's what I would change. If you get caught doing something, you're going to prison for life.
Yeah, we need term limits on these politicians that have been in there too long.
Yeah, and I wish there was some way that I could start something and do something that would actually get us there, but I don't. I'm just one guy that got censored on Facebook by his employer.
Yeah. All right. So Daniel, what would you consider to be the fondest memory of your drag racing career?
I grew up with a friend, Mike Smith. He was my best friend. He was the youngest son of Dave Smith that owns the drag strip out here. And my fondest memory of my childhood was beating him in the final at the high school drags when we were both still going to school, and we were drag racing together. And to this day, that's one of my fondest memories.
All right. Now, when you get that car running, what will be the best way for people to, follow you where you're going to be running that car at?
Well, of course, we're going to run here at Sacramento, and then we're going to run at Sonoma over at Sears Point, and we'll probably run Redding. We're going to run Medford. We're going to run Samoa. and we're going to run Bakersfield. And I don't have any plans on really doing any traveling unless it's some kind of special race that my wife wants us to go attend. But we're going to, everything we do with the race car, we're going to do live on Facebook. Every pass, there'll be somebody on my Facebook page live feeding it, and good or bad, whatever happens, they'll see it as it's happening live. We won't hide anything. We're going to have fun with it, and people expect me to give it, to do things the way I've done it with fishing, and that's what we're going to do. And we're going to kind of incorporate the fishing program with the racing program. We're just going to have fun with it. We got our fishing program is Gone Fishing, baby, and on the race car it's going to say Gone Racing, baby. So we're gonna just have fun with it, and as long as it's fun, we're keep doing it. And if it helps lead to me getting into a nitro car, then that's more than I could have asked for. If it doesn't happen, no big deal. As long as we're having fun, we're going to keep racing, and as long as my wife's having fun, we're going to keep racing. But everybody that's followed us on Facebook and is following now, every time we race, it'll be on Facebook, and they'll be experiencing it with us live.
Awesome. Well, Daniel, I want to thank you very much for taking time to do the interview.
Well, thank you for asking me. I told my wife, I said, this guy wants to interview me on whatever, and I don't know why. I'm just a boring guy, but thank you. It's been fun.
Yeah, I just love promoting all you guys at drag race. Whether it's a little guy or a big guy, I don't care. As long as you drag racer, I promote you.
Well, if you can get out here to be here for a race at Bakersfield, we'll make sure I get you out there and put you on some sturgeon while you're here.
All right. So, you have any final words?
Just thank you, and thanks for everybody tuning in tonight. And if you want to know more, look us up on Facebook, and I got room to take some more friends, and I'll keep taking them.
Yeah. All right. Well, you have a great night, Daniel.
All right, Dave. You take it easy.
All right. You too.
Bye.
Bye.